The following moments may contain explicit language.
Roger, Charlie, we're ready to rock.
Welcome to the SNLF Dugout Diaries, where today's guest is former AFC Uckfield first team manager Haig Kingston. Haig's come on the show today to talk about a bit about his playing career, his coaching career, and his controversial exit at AFC Uckfield. Haig Kingston, welcome to the Dugout. How are you, pal?
Very, very well. Thanks for having me. Mike, I must say, the Dugout podcast has been brilliant. Loved every single episode. Lots of people I know. So it's a privilege to be on it.
Oh, it's an honour to have you on. And more importantly, it's good to have the support. We know, we've got a little niche here now, and we've got a couple of years to build this, and then we'll see where we go. But this ain't about us. Today, Haig, we're delighted to have you on. This is about you and your story. But for the people that don't know you, tell us a bit about your early life. Tell us a bit about you.
A bit about me. I was born and bred in Sussex, born in Lewes. Always have lived in the area, only with a small gap overseas. Always played local football through Junior Football Club of Lewes Bridge View, which was a fantastic little football club when I was younger. Charter Stated Football Club, and I was there from when do you start football? 5, 6, all the way through to under 16s. I live near Uckfield in a village called Buxted nearby. Married, 3 kids between us, blended family with the missus. And outside of football, do a lot of hiking, spend a lot of time with my daughter who's 11. So yeah, that's what I do outside of football. And I've always been in and around Sussex and always played at that level.
Have you ever done any of the mountains? You do say do the hiking? Yeah,
so we've done 2 of the 3 peaks in the UK. We haven't done Ben Nevis yet. We're a regular visitor to the Lake District. So we've done...
Ben Nevis is the easiest one. I've done all 3.
Ben Nevis is the easiest one. That's what I've heard. Scarfell Pike was horrendous. We tend to go up in the winter, so visibility is bad, everything like that. But we've done, I think now, over 27 of the Wainwrights. So there's a few more to go, but I love it. The only place I can ever switch off.
Yeah, I'd say for people listening out there that, they wonder why people do this. It is great for your mental health, going out and doing a hike, climbing up a mountain, coming back, taking a few hours to do it. Yeah, it's great. So if you haven't done it yet, give it a try. It's not as hard as people think. Hey, this ain't a Bear Grylls talk. This is about us. Let's talk about your playing experience, because you've always been a goalkeeper. You are the first goalkeeper I've had on. Okay, you're the first goalkeeper to stroke who moved into coaching and management. So talk to me about that, because you've got some interesting clubs here. I'm going to roll them off. I'm going to list them off. Clubs where you played at. Hassels, Ringmer, the old Ringmer, not the new.
Old Ringmer.
Yeah. Saltdean Football Club, Seaford Town, Lewis Youth. But you've also had a stint out in Australia for Western Australian State Team. Let's start there first. Firstly, what made you go to Australia?
Just thought there was more out there than what there was at the time. For me personally, found a post from a chap, funny enough, used to go to school with one of my dad's mates who lives out there, didn't know at the time, looking for players to come and play. I thought, do you know what? Why not? I thought, let's go out there and do a life-changing experience, which it was. The best thing I ever done. Probably the only regret I have in life is ever coming back. But yeah, went and played with a local team over there. A lot of UK expats as well. Fantastic little side, but went on a really good little run with them, and we were playing in the cups, and we were doing really well. And then I got noticed by the state team manager, which is a combination of all the best teams in Perth, Western Australia, come together to play in an overseas tournament, which we didn't get to go on in the end. But we played, which was the best experience of my life. We played against Perth Glory. So we played against...
Who are a professional side at the moment.
Who are a professional A-League side. And we thought, oh, it would just be their under 18s playing. It was their full strength first team squad, right, with a couple of trialists. So we were playing against Danny Vukovic, the Australian #1 at the time. We had Liam Miller, the late Liam Miller, ex-Man United, Champions League winner, and Jacob Burns from Leeds. And I remember lining up against these people thinking, it doesn't get better than this. It doesn't get better than this. 3,000 people in attendance. I think we lost the game like 3-0 in the end, but it wasn't about the result. For me, it was the life-changing experience that I wanted. And it kind of brought a bit of love for football back for me. But yeah, that's the experience. Lived out there for about a year. Visa rules are very difficult to try and get over there. But yeah, loved every minute of it. I'd recommend it to a young player listening to this. Get overseas, abroad, play. I've encouraged 2 lads to go and do it recently, and I think it's changed their life as well.
Just for maybe the listeners that potentially are interested, how hard is it to go out there and play?
It's a lot easier than what it was before.
Okay.
We from my time at Uckfield, 2 of the lads have gone overseas. One actually's gone to Australia. He's going back in March because the season is just starting up again. And one went to Gibraltar. There's a lot of people that can help you now. A lot of people with good connections into football clubs, and I know some people that are now going over. So a couple of young lads gone over to New Zealand as well. It's a lot easier because you can contact football clubs, and modern technology nowadays, you can send your highlight reel and all these kind of things. But there are people that act as intermediaries in between, and they can get you into football clubs out there. And some, like the young lad that's gone to Gibraltar, they're paying his accommodation. He can go to use the facilities, the gym, and he's in the first team squad. So there's ways you can go about it. I'm more than happy to help anyone that wants to know more.
Okay, well, that's fantastic, and cheers for offering that. I'm sure someone might be interested in that, especially the younger ones that don't really know what they're doing, especially after college, whether they go university or some of them go, as you say, play a path over to like the States or somewhere like that. Right, let's dig into the teams where you've been at. Where do you want to start?
The last place. Start the last place or the first place?
Let's start at the first place. Let's give me a quick bit on each of them.
Yep. So, as most kids in and around this area, as a young age, like under 16s, noticed by Brighton, you join as a scholar. Great. You think you're next best thing. I was released at a very young age for being too short. Funny enough, I'm now nearly 6'5", so that didn't work out too well for them, I guess, in the end. But I went down the routes of Lewis FC and for their youth team, as well as Ringmer of old and their under 18 team, and that's where it started. I played for some fantastic football managers under some fantastic chairmen, the late Bob Munnery, for example, really big influence on me as a young age. Played under Jason Hopkinson, Steve Johnson. Like, that's where I started. That's where I got my debut. And I remember my debut for senior from Ringmer. So we went from Ringmer under 18 into senior. And I was called up by Sammy Donnelly. And you were speaking to Lawrence Edwards, actually. He'd done the same thing. Me and Lawrence get on really well. And I listened to his podcast. I thought, this is exactly the same story. Sammy called me up, and it was a Tuesday night up at Crowborough. I was 18. No, probably maybe even 17. I can't remember how old I was. Called up to the first team. Crowborough a decent side back then, but Ringmer had some class players like Reedy and Azza Watson. And I sat in that training room going, no, I shouldn't be here.
Did you feel your confidence wasn't there? Did you not feel you're ready?
Yeah, confidence was there, but I was a bit lightweight compared to everyone else that age at 17. And I remember Sammy, bless him, he had a bit of a go at me from a corner. And I thought, that is my induction to senior football. Right there. It was pissing hard with rain. It was cold. There were big lumps, crosses going in the box, non-stop. But do you know what? I walked out of there. I think we may have lost 2-1. I can't remember. And I thought, I loved it. I wanted more. I wanted to progress myself a lot more. And that's where, after that point, I sort of fell out. Things sort of happened. I sort of fell out of football. And I had a child.
Did your confidence go?
No, I think I was still
or
playing
was it outside?
outside influences.
Yeah.
Outside influences. I had a daughter quite young, and that kind of took the sting out of me playing football.
Mhm.
But before I had my daughter, I was playing with. Then went on to Seaford. I didn't play for about a year, and I got back in with some mates just playing Sunday League, and everyone's like, "You shouldn't be playing here. Go and play somewhere else." And this is before Australia. And I remember approaching Tony Code at the time as the manager. What a guy, Cody. I went down there, and I didn't really know what to expect. I hadn't played in a long time. I went to pre-season, and the guy that got the love back for me was my coach at the time, Gav Richards, goalkeeping coach. I remember going down to the pre-season first session. He goes, "I'm going to kill you, Haig. You haven't played in a long time, and I'm going to kill you and get the best out of you." I remember after about an hour and a half, I was throwing up. I couldn't drive home because I had severe cramp in both my legs. And Gav came over to me and goes, "You'll be all right here. You'll be absolutely fine."
So he literally put it on you.
Yeah.
Tried to find your breaking point. Saw if you had a couple of balls between your legs, and then he
Yeah.
realised actually we might have something with this lad.
Yeah, and it grew from there. And we went on a fantastic. We had a great team like Louis Parsons, Danny Andrews. We went on a fantastic little Vars run. Took us up to I can't remember where it was now, up near Maidstone, and we lost to Tunbridge Wells in the time. And I was still quite young at this point. I was still only 19, playing first team football. I got knocked unconscious twice against Cobham. The same bloke knocked me unconscious twice in one game. And but I loved it. I loved playing for Seaford at that time. It was a great experience. And we had such a great side. And Tony Coe was fantastic manager. But it was all because of Gav. Gav made me love doing what I do in goal. He instilled trust. He believed in me, and it kind of grew from there.
Can I ask you, a goalkeeper?
Yeah,
Yeah, is it more of the older school goalkeeper, or the new school where it's ticky tacky, pass from the back like that?
old school. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in deep down at heart. I'm still old school, and I'm
Yeah.
still a little bit old school in terms of management as well. But I was never. I'm purely left foot, and anyone that knows me knows I haven't got a right foot for toffee. I was purely old school, and that's how we played. We played with a back four, big centre halves. We didn't fuck about. We were there. We were hardworking. We were aggressive. We were strong, and I grew physically at that point, playing with Seaford and playing under Gav, which gave me the confidence to go onto Australia, onto Oz, and that took me to another level. And I think that the standard of playing overseas is a lot lower. So I felt even more confident. Right? I felt even more confident. I walked straight in, didn't have to trial, other than for the state team, and confidence continued to grow. And I came back and thinking going back to Seaford would be, feels like home from home. But obviously things have changed, managers have changed, and that's where I met Ivesy, and that's how I know Ivesy. But the club had changed and it wasn't as competitive. And I went back to Ringmar under Jace Hopkinson. And then after that went down to was with Saltdean under Curb. So I've played for a few clubs.
Why do you think that? What? Can I ask? Why did you think you stuck at one then?
I would have stuck at Hassocks. The opportunity to go to Australia was too big an opportunity to turn
Understand
down.
that. But let's look at that. That's a year, 18 months out of your career.
Yeah.
And then you're bouncing around between Ringmar, Saltdean, Seaford, and that.
It's hard as a keeper.
Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
It's hard as a keeper because when you come back from something like that, you're competing against people that are already established, maybe a little bit more experienced, people that maybe don't know you, and you've got to bide your time. You've got to wait. With Ringmar, and it wasn't until I went over to Uckfield as manager when I was with the chairman Justin, I found out that he wanted to bring me into Uckfield a lot earlier as a goalkeeper. They were talking about a bit of a swap. And this is a great story that came out, but it was really hard to establish yourself coming back. And that's kind of where I kind of dropped down.
Did that gain your confidence?
Yeah, dropped my confidence a little bit. definitely dropped my confidence.
You've gone out as an established player. You've
Yeah.
took your game to another level. You've made state team, which for the listeners that don't know, that's a bit like representative team round here. Maybe like let's say like a Sussex round here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Basically the same, yeah.
So you've come back. You've grown. You're fully established keeper. You come back. You're about to make your impact in on the county leagues, as they say. But then again, you're then sort of starting again.
Yeah, you start again. It's hard to infiltrate, and I think that's probably why I went to Saltdean. They were at the time Saltdean were probably in the lower end of the tables, and thought I've got to start again.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting beat a lot, and as a goalkeeper, if you're conceding goals,
It's going to look at you.
Doesn't look favourably, does it?
Oh,
And your confidence drops. And I came out of football again for a little while. That's when I had my daughter. So I dropped down to local leagues, playing with mates. And then it wasn't until a bit later on, and we were playing is with the Mid Sussex Ringwood team at the time. We played in 2 cup finals, and there's my old school caretakers behind the goal at Birds Hill in the cup final. Said, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't be playing this level. You've got to be playing higher." And I thought, okay, right, give it another go. Get yourself fit and go out there and try and prove some wrong. It just happened at the time. Hassocks was struggling for a keeper, and they were struggling at the bottom of the Prem. And it was a mate of mine that was playing for him, said, just come and do us a favour. Just we need a keeper. We don't have one. Physio was playing goal at the time. Phil Whitmore, who I love Phil. Obviously, he's got a few years on me. So I went in, and that's probably the one club I would have stayed at. I felt like I was playing my best football at Hassocks. We stayed up. I felt confident, strong, and then injury hit, just like that.
talk to me about this injury because I've had the same one.
ACL, grade A rupture on my left knee.
It's excruciating pain, isn't it?
Yeah, the words were, we could hear that from the other end of the pitch. I was down. I knew something wasn't right. I came out for a through ball, landed on my left heel, and it just cracked. And I thought, I could broken my leg. I must have broken my leg. But then it wasn't that, and I had people standing over me doing with their hands across their throats, and that's it, he's done. And I thought, and I remember getting the MRI results, and I just burst into tears.
Okay.
Football had been my life. You play football every Saturday, every Tuesday, Thursday. You're prepping for a game. It's the one thing you think. You don't really think about work or you're outside of football life. You think, what's my next game? That's it. Just stopped. That I broke down. And Mark Dalglish, who was the manager at the time at Hassocks, was a great guy, really good friend, and said, "Stick with us, stay with us, and be a coach, be an assistant." And that's how I got into that. But yeah, down at Chichester, that accident happened before they got the new pitch. I must add. So,
hey, talk to me about, if you don't mind, talk to me about some of those dark moments when you're. Yeah, let's say it's a couple of weeks, a month after the injury. I know how long it takes. These are either career enders or at least a season outers. Yeah. Did you get into a dark place?
I wouldn't. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when football's been your life since you're 5 years old, and you've been pushing yourself as a keeper to really go on and do as high as you can. And before the injury happened, I was talking to Cody at the time about, because he was at Lewis. I said, do you want me to come down and just, challenge your keepers and just do a bit of work? I'll do some training. It was with, who's the chap's name? Freeman. I can't remember his first name.
Darren Freeman.
Aaron was the manager. He said, yeah, hey, come down, Ross, come down and do some training with us. And if it works out, we'll sign you on us back up. And I think I've got my buzz back. And then that's what I kept thinking about, thinking what could have been. And, I struggled to get down the stairs from my flat, and, you're working from home with your leg up. I didn't have surgery. I chose not to have surgery.
Same as me. I chose it to heal naturally.
Natural rehab. And you just think, I look back quite a lot. I always have done. I look back at it and I try and be really positive about what I've done. But sometimes you think, well, what could have been? but football at that point, football had been my life, and people saying, "Oh, go into coaching, you've got a lot to offer." And at the time, I thought, "Do you know what? I'm just done with it." I felt like I had to cut it, but it wasn't. If it wasn't for Mark, I wouldn't have gone into coaching at all. You do feel low. You do feel low because
Yeah,
you
I'll tell you what I was like. I mean, I did it playing playing the pre-season game in a game actually that I shouldn't have played in because it was more for the trialist, but I wanted a bit of extra fitness. I just turned on it. I remember the next week thinking, "That's me done, mate. That is
Yeah.
it." And you know what? I felt depressed. I got angry around my long-term partner, because I couldn't get up and down the stairs. I
yeah.
couldn't, you know, play with my daughter or stuff like that. I felt depressed. I drank a bit as well. I like to drink at the time because it was a bit of to me, a block out, you know.
Yeah.
But I sympathise with people that get long-term season injuries, especially people that have a chance to play at a decent standard. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you think that one tackle, that one decision, and it goes. But that's football.
It is. It is
At the
football.
end of the day, that is
Back.
football, right? So you had to deal with that. You got through. You spoke to some of the mates involved in that, and then you thought, right, I need to stay in football. Not only, maybe to keep my head a bit sane for a bit.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then you started moving into coaching. So I want to delve into there now. I want to talk about your coaching because I'm looking at around again. You've got some names on your CV, pal. You obviously you touched on a bit about where you were the goalkeeper coach and support at Hassocks.
Yeah. I think a lot of
But
people forget
shit,
that. Right? I think a lot
yeah,
of people forget that I was there for a good couple of years, and I was more than just a goalkeeping coach. I assisted Mark, and I think when people talk to me and know who I am, I think they forget that's where I was for a long period of time. A great football club.
a
Really
wonderful
well.
football. Yeah, I agree. And then it looks like, if I'm not wrong, you then got your first. You had to then drop down to get your first manager's role, like all of us have to do.
Yep.
Yeah, you went and work. You went to work in the Mid Sussex League with Cutfield Rangers. How did that come about?
Purely by chance, more than
Right.
anything. Played against them a few times. I know their keeper, Azza, really well. And I saw they were looking for a manager. And I tweeted saying, "Oh, me and Azza would do it," as a joke. Next thing I know, they actually did message me and say, "Do you actually want to do it?" I thought, yeah, why not? Why not do it? Why not do it? And we gave it a really good go. And I loved it. Just get me back into football, like being the front man, I guess, and being the manager, understanding what goes on behind the scenes and what we had to do. And yeah, it was Mid Sussex League. It wasn't the greatest standard.
But you have to start somewhere. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to start somewhere, and you learn the foundations,
Yeah.
like what's involved and the paperwork that goes with it, and trying to get players in and all this kind of thing. And you spend your life glued to your phone. It feels like, but it just gave me a foot in the door, and then I started to think this is something that I'm quite good at. I
Okay.
think I'm quite good at it. Football
If you
generations.
did you do any badges?
I did a badge a long time ago, like a long time ago.
So I'm assuming you're in your head a manager, not a coach. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. I couldn't coach outfield to the point to like textbook proper football coaches.
Me neither.
I'm more of a people person. I think I'm good at helping people, and certainly now with this generation of kids coming through, they need a lot more help, support, guidance. And I think that's probably where my niche is. And having known and played the level for such a long time, you kind of know some people in and around the area that you can bring players into. I actually brought in a lad into Cookfield. He was far too good for Mid Sussex League, but I knew him, and he was great, and he really made us tick. But then we found some youngsters. And you think, oh, that's good. They're good. They can go higher, and you make note of all these things. and we took some with us when we went to Uckfield.
I like that. So did you go to Uckfield after Cuckfield or after Saltdeep?
So we went when we left Cookfield, sorry.
Yeah.
Kieran Ridley at the time, good guy Kieran, said, "Come and help me until you find your own thing." And it was agreed between us that that sounds good. I'll come in and help you out on the basis if something comes up on my own, we'll call it there. I'll go and do my own thing. It just happens that Uckfield came up 4 weeks later, which no one could have foreseen. But it gave you another insight into what happens behind the scenes, like how other people work and what other clubs are doing. And the Uckfield job came about.
Now, I want to drill into this because
I thought you might.
you know, I'll ask questions others won't. That's how it is.
Good. And I'll tell you how it is.
Yeah, I've heard conflicting reports about this Uckfield job. Okay, on some sides, I've heard that you were thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
And on other sides, I've heard you threw them under the bus, which is, I don't know nothing about it. That's only what people have said. I want you to put it on the record, what happened and that, because look, I know a few people at that club. I haven't asked them about it. No, I've only what people have said. I didn't know you were there. But at the same time, something must have happened because I know it's a bit of a bee in your bonnet at the moment, and you're keen to talk about it. So let's be real. How did it go? Because I had the impression you were put in there to steady the ship. This is what I heard, and you did steady the ship, and you did that. So that's all I'd heard. I hadn't heard anything else. Let's hear from you.
I'm glad you did hear that because that's what we were brought in to do. We were there to steady the ship, stop the rot. We had some objectives. And look, I've known Justin Farrow for a long time. He's not chairman anymore, right? Known him for a long, long time. He said, we just need someone to come in, steady the ship. We need to increase our playing squad because at the time they only had 13 in the squad each week.
I heard that. I heard that they had barely a match day squad, and that you had to address that. That is a fact. I've heard that.
Yes, we had to address the fact that there's minimal players, right? That was objective number one. And the primary objective was to stay in the Premier Division, which I know they didn't do. And I tried to look back on this experience. And did I do wrong? No, I think I did a good job. We increased their playing squad from 13 to 24, right?
That's nearly double the squad. Yeah.
It's huge, right? I think it's about 24. But on the other hand, the off-field problems impacted the on-field problems.
Do you want to talk about them? Because I'd expect you to.
Yeah, and anyone that knows Uckfield now, that the club needs some investment. And I know Billy's gone in, and whether that's his own money, that's not for me to say. It needs some investment. And when that starts to impact me trying to bring players in, so let me talk about that.
Go on.
We were challenged because we couldn't offer players finances, which
so at the time, for the record, there was no money about.
There was a little bit. When I say a little bit, we had to implement a new system. I couldn't go out and spend the money that some clubs do, £200 a week on someone that's going to score me 20 goals. I couldn't do it. Right? I couldn't do it. I was limited by some previous agreements. But it wasn't just that. It was the playing surface. People didn't want to play on the pitch. Couldn't get a game on for love nor money. And then we were challenged with the clubhouse situation where it needed some work doing. And we, as a manager, you take pride in your home, and you defend your home. And I defended the club. I defended what we're doing, and we're trying to do the right thing. And much to maybe other people coming to play against us or other clubs, they didn't see it that way. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent on the phone that time trying to bring players in. That was one problem, the off-field problems. And And I think it's probably fair at this point for me to say why we left.
Yeah.
And I need to put on record, it wasn't just my decision to leave. This was me, my 2 assistants, and the coach. All four of us decided to leave because of the situation. And I'll put it as politely as I can. Personal relationships tried to influence my decisions. And as a manager, my job is to pick the best side in which I think can go and get a result. Which, yeah, we had some pretty heavy ones, but again, still building a squad. But we had some positive ones, and I felt like the trajectory was going up. We were on the right path. Whether we would have stayed up, I don't know. But I felt good. I felt like we were getting into a bit of a rhythm. We had a good nucleus of players, young and experienced, and togetherness. But when the personal relationships get involved, it makes any manager's job untenable. And that's
When you say personal relationships, this is what I'm reading of it. Okay. I don't want to put you in a position where you look at it. Okay. That's the last thing I do on this show. I never do that to the people.
No, I understand.
I would interpret it as a personal relationship, maybe committee, boards, other things, had other ideas of the direction of the squad. And maybe felt like X should play or X shouldn't play. Is that close?
Very close. Not quite, but close.
Okay. Well, just for the people listening at home,
let me
clarify that.
Committee and family members in the playing squad.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's where it's a bit different. Family members, not of your own, surely.
Not of my own. No.
Okay.
My kids
right. So, yeah, I was about to say. Okay, I understand. I don't feel you have to explain that anymore. Of where that is something that I have seen across many teams in there. I'm looking at you and I'm seeing this is emotionally you're gutted about this, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. It was a really difficult thing to step down, but when you're getting pressured to do certain things or threatened too harsh, you think, well, what's the point? I'm still a volunteer at the end of the day, and this doesn't fall part of my philosophy of football. This doesn't, my values in football, that doesn't fall part of that. That's not a belief in which a football club should be run, and that's why. And it was hard because I felt like we got really good. We got into we took risks on players that we didn't know because we had to, because we couldn't get players in. We had to try and get a forward, for example. I probably called about 52 forwards that I know. Not one of them came, despite difficult circumstances. You can take the facilities. The pitch, as everyone knows, is not great.
Heavy.
We had
does get a bit heavy.
Very heavy.
But at the same time, I know they've got guys up there that work hard on it. It's the same. Same with our pitch at Arundel. So unless you're getting some real investment in there, such as a 3G or something like that, there's always going to be a problem. So, but I understand where you're coming from. Sorry.
Yeah, always that, and I think that's one factor. We had factors of changing rooms leaking and going through electrics, and it was in disarray. That the facilities, we didn't have a budget, so we're working with some really difficult situations. So to increase the playing squad from 13 to 24 was something out of you wouldn't have expected.
With zero budget.
Zero budget. Then we started to realise there was a little bit of a budget that we could pay in certain ways if we could, but we're talking at this level almost nothing.
Okay.
We had to take risks on players that we didn't know through people that are playing there. We could only witness them in training for a very short period of time, but we achieved these goals. And I think the trajectory where we were at was we were going to achieve safety as well. I think the results were picking up, some miscellaneous results that happen. But I guess to kind of answer the question is, we felt like we were thrown under the bus a little bit. And that was all due to personal relationships within the club. And I need to put on record as well that it wasn't just my decision to leave. This was me, my two assistants, and the coach. We all came together to talk about the situation, and we found it untenable with some of the messages that I was receiving through this personal relationship. And as a manager of the football club, my job is to pick the best side for the best game, under the best circumstances, the best environment. And that wasn't agreed with certain people. And that put me in a very difficult position where I almost felt like I had to appease this situation, when it felt like for the greater good of the club and of the team, we wanted to go a different direction. People can make of that what they like. I think it's fair to say that's the way we go into it.
Because, as you said, football's full of rumours, and you've obviously gone in there, 13 players, next to zero budget, and then got to extend that out to over 20, 22, 23 players. That's a very tough job, especially where you work in there. That's a tough sell. You're trying to get players that say, do you fancy being in a relegation dogfight for the rest of the season for no money on potentially a pitch that could be a little bit heavy at times? A lot of pitches are like that. So I'm not just digging out Uckfield there at all, not at all, because I know a guy that works on that pitch. He's a top guy.
He's a top guy, yeah, really top guy. I have to put that out.
He is a top guy. Big's up there. So did you, in your head, realise that was potentially going to be a job where you're going to hide into nothing?
No, because I was full of excitement for it.
Okay.
My local club, I lived down the road. I found a passion. I found a chairman that supported and saw the vision in what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until weeks go by that certain things were happening or comments were made or situations happened. One situation happened. I dealt with it in the way that was fair and reasonable for everyone else. I'm a totally honest and transparent person. That maybe was viewed very differently by this personal relationship within the club. And it's not just me that's experienced this as well. I have learned that it has happened again since my departure.
What, at the same club?
At the same club, same people, and I don't mean it disrespectfully to the club, because I've got a lot of attachment to the club, but it makes me feel like a bit better that I wasn't the problem and that I actually had something good going with me and the team that were in place. And it was always going to be difficult. Do we regret walking away? Maybe I should have stood my ground, but there's learnings you take from every opportunity in life. But we felt we were in a good trajectory to go on and achieve the goals we wanted to achieve. And when I announced that I was leaving, I spoke with a number of other club managers in and around that relegation area and said, what the hell's happened? Like, we were getting a bit worried about your results. You weren't losing by a lot, and then you're picking up the odd point. And we beat Saltdean. Like, there was a really good rhythm building, and they were surprised. So it was a shame.
You seem gutted. You absolutely seem gutted. I mean, this is going out on audio, but we're obviously on video. You seem a bit distraught at this. Do you think you made any errors?
I think everyone makes errors, right? I think
But do you think you made errors?
I think no, not in that particular situation. Have I made errors when I was at the club? Yeah, maybe we signed some people that maybe weren't good enough, or we could.
But I understand that, but you probably
Mm.
signed them because you need bodies. Yeah,
Did-
you're in that
yeah,
situation. And look, you got no money there, or very minimal. You put into them a relegation dogfight. If you'd had a budget, Haig, would or a budget that would have been comparative to maybe those players, teams in and around you, would you have backed yourself to get out of that?
yeah, fully.
Okay.
Fully, even in the situation that we had and the players that we had, and that we had a great bunch, and we did cultivate a really positive environment. I think we were starting to really build something. I'll back myself 100% with everything that I do. I believe that we could have stayed up. But the situation was just untenable. And we do this as volunteers, and to get the amount of I'll use a polite word, hassle I got for this situation, it just wasn't sustainable.
What do you mean? What
But
do you mean by hassle? Talk to me. You can tell me a spade's a spade, mate.
messages saying that I need to pay certain people, and with the words "or else" was
Oh,
was the
okay.
was the final message that I got, and then
And,
there was.
and can we keep this? Let's make sure for people that listen at home now. Okay, you have nothing to do with the current management or current coaching squad that are in there, do you? No.
No,
You
no,
so for anyone listening at home, I want to put this on the record as well that the current manager in at Uckfield is Billy Wood, yeah, over there,
yeah.
and his team. This was nothing to do with Haig's situation. So let's put that on the record there. Okay, sorry I jumped in. Right.
No, and I think that's fair to say. Look, I
Yeah.
don't know Billy, and they seem to be, he seems to be doing, picking up a good job over there, and I still follow the club results, and
Hmm.
they had nothing to do with the situation. It's subsequent now that Justin, who was the chairman at the time, is no longer chairman, and that's who
Was he the chairman at the time you
he
had this?
was.
Okay,
He was.
so am I now visualizing this fact that AFC Uckfield today, new coaching team, new manager, new chairman, in there. So anything for people on the record, this is not Haig having a go at the current chairman, the current coaches, the current manager, or players. This is a problem that was before that. But
Yeah,
this was a question I had to answer him because
no, not at all.
a current visitor, and you haven't done that. Your problem was with someone that's there, not with the club, that left you in a position where you found your position unattainable. Okay, you weren't given that chance. You went in to do your job, try and keep them up, rebuild a team, no or minimal budgets, get another maybe 10 players in, 10, 12 players in, okay, half a squad. Personally, from me, I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking, okay, I understand why he's gone into the job. It's in his facility near him. It's a good job. It's a good club to be at, mate. It's a good club. Okay. But at the same time, you probably knew deep down that this could easily go two ways.
I'm not that type of person that will say other people. I wish Uckfield the very best of where they are right now. When you made the comment of we foresee it going two ways? Yes, either successfully or unsuccessfully, but we didn't.
Did you feel a bit naive? Were you a bit naive to think?
No,
Maybe,
no, I don't think we just didn't anticipate that it would happen in the way that it did.
okay.
I think we kind of thought we could turn this round. We could do we can do this. We can keep them up. I was confident, 110% confident we could do that. But we didn't realised that the unsuccessful path, if we thought that would be relegation, no playing squad. It wasn't through personal circumstances.
Were you
Personal-
fully, in your head, were you fully prepared then? If you went down, okay, the relegation to come, in your head, were you fully prepared to rebuild that season and aim to get promotion again? Were you thinking that far ahead?
Yes, myself and Justin, the chairman at the time, had that conversation, and we wanted to stay in place, and we wanted to be at the club. It wasn't. Yes, there was a short-term plan and short-term objectives, but that conversation was held, and we were more than happy to be. And in fact, we actually wanted to be in post, even if the club was relegated to Division 1, because we felt that we could rebuild, bring in people of our own knowledge and our own contacts to help build out a squad that can be competitive again, and almost have that blank canvas. And we were preparing for that.
That's
we had
fantastic.
we had to prepare for both scenarios. Myself and Justin were preparing for that. I was preparing with my team. We still believe we could have stayed up. There's no question. And so we were also preparing for next season, if we were to stay up, how can we do things better? So
Fantastic.
both scenarios.
Well, hey, I'm glad you cleared that up on the matter, because it's a matter that is directly linked to you. And I didn't want any future teams that were interested in you to get that wrong idea. I'm glad you've been upfront, honest, got that through. Thank you ever so much for going through that.